just wondering, what are people going through addictions? What is that conversation about?
People who are going through addictions?
People who are dealing with addictions to different substances or different kinds of things that people can be addicted to.
Yes. Well, addiction is always, it's always about I want out. It's always about something else. I would say that probably 99% of addictions are people's way of numbing the pain. And then in numbing the pain, they suddenly can lose themselves into something else. And it's that's the addiction. It's, let me be this other thing, whether it's seeing colors or being mellow or being, having this head illusion or whatever those things are. It could be just something like we're addicted to chocolate or salt. Or usually when we're addicted to a certain kind of food like sweet or salt or bitter, those are parasites inside us who happen to be addicted to that. But it's the same conversation. What is the element within our composure that craves something, that demands something, and how do we give it to it? We surrender the self. The difficulty with drug addictions is that we really surrender the self, so that after a period of time, we can't find the self. So we feel separate from the world, and so we just keep building on that separation with the world. But as I've said in several of my books, I can really, truly tell when a child is about 6 whether they will have addictions. Because you can see it in their auric field. They're already suffering the taking in other people's energies and negativities and pain. And so they're already finding master ways to distract themselves. They might, at 6, it might be sexuality, it might be aggression, it might be hiding, but their auric field will show that energy. And here we are, that this, if we could be aware of cosmic truth, which is why I've been doing incarnational work for 55 years, if you had the capacity to be aware of all of those seas of potential and experiences, then you would be able to expand so that you could recognize the purpose of some suffering or sadness or loss or anything like that. Sensitivity on the highest octave, instead of it being a primordial energy, becomes the high vibration of intuition. It's not instinct. It's not, this could happen, I could feel that. Run, fight, flight. It's not that. It's an intuition that says, here are the energies coming together. I can feel the magnetism of that. When we have that gift, if we had awareness, we can wield it and give great help to the world, rather than basically sucking in the negativity and having it hurt us, and never be able to honor in ourselves that I knew that. How many times in this life do you say, I knew that. I knew that would happen, or I knew this person would call, or I knew whatever it is. I knew that. But you never said, I know that beforehand. You never trusted your higher self, your inner voice beforehand. That's why it's so important for us to begin to use those sensitivities so they don't become addiction. Because when it's an addiction, it's using you. And addiction is a biochemical thing, like sadness. Emotions are emoting from an emotional body that uses biochemistry to set a frequency of reality. So the adrenals, usually, but not always, will stimulate the solar plexus ganglion, which will trigger the vagus nerve, which will feed the brain energy into the brain transmitters, and then the brain transmitters will say, that's what's true. And so, by the way, since we know that some of the most important neurotransmitters, for example, serotonin, are actually made in our intestines, and our intestines are where we get parasites. If you have a dog, you have parasites. Everybody has parasites. It's just what's the balance. And are those parasites saying, give me the salt, or give me the sugar, or give me the chocolate, or give me the whatever, the alcohol, or whatever it is. We want to make sure our intestines are working because it can affect our brain. and the Shakti, life force energy that sucks on the sugar, the sweetness in the brain. And so addictions are connected to that biochemistry. Now my higher self is showing me that we are moving into this magnetism. We're moving into electromagnetic energies. And it will be through those electromagnetic energies that we can shift things. And so there's a new octave of sense of self. But meanwhile, when somebody has an addiction, if they could feel in their body, what does that feel like? Is it a craving? Is it time out? Is it a release of the body? Is it an orgasmic stimulus, which it is on some levels, some drugs are. You know, even having a delicious piece of chocolate can get pretty ecstatic in there. Why? Because chocolate stimulates the neurotransmitters in the brain that say, this is love. This is love. So we never want to beat ourselves up or somebody else up for addictions, but we want to unwind them. And it is wonderful that, for example, if somebody comes here and they have any kind of addiction, whether it's an eating addiction or not eating addiction, or it's a heroin or whatever it is, we can do a lot by going back and going back and going back and pulling away all of the experiences that amplify that addiction, finding the possessive energies that are whispering in there. Because when you have a craving, you have a possessive energy, and it's whispering to you and saying, give me that, give me that, give me that. And then you'll feel fine, everything will be good, you'll be safe, you'll be safe, you'll be safe. So you can disconnect that. You can disconnect it. And at the same time, you have to feed the biochemistry. So there are a number of foods and herbs and medicines that can nourish the brain, that can nourish the body to support it, so that the nerves don't become frayed because you're trying to get this thing that you really have to have it else.
Some addictions are not just substances, like codependency, or
like what?
Codependency, or
that's an addiction. That's another kind of addiction. But it's the same conversation. It's the conversation of the self. It's the conversation that says, I can't love myself. I'm not enough. I can't survive without you. You know, you have to like me. And you have to prove that you like me. And you have to give me what I need so that I'm safe. It's about safety. It's about the self. And so you can take any kind of addiction and unwind it back into those themes. Not in your head. I'm not talking about analyzing it. I'm talking about actually going back and peeling away the experiences of it and replacing them with something else. Replacing them with some other emotional imprint. And replacing them with biochemistry, with electromagnetic energies that shift those things. Sometimes, as we know from, I wrote a book called Psychogenetics, The Force of Heredity. Addictions fall right into that. What addiction did your great-grandmother have? Did she have the addiction of I have to have a partner or I'll be thrown out in the snow? No. Did she have an addiction that said I'm going to whisper about everybody else so I'll feel stronger? These are all the same thing. It's all the same thing. You know, we do inherit emotional DNA from our blood relatives, from our cultures, from our religions, from our lovers, from our own children. Because the genes are fluid. And so experiences create a groove. And we begin to go in that groove. And we continue in that groove, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper until that's all there is for you. That's all there is. And so usually we are the last ones to be able to see that we have an addiction. Because the emotional mind, we have emotional mind, it thinks by association and conclusion, so it associates and then says, you're not supporting me. You're hurting my feelings. It's you, it's you, it's you, it's you, it's you. Have you ever been around somebody who has a lot of emotional problems? It's like Don Quixote in the windmill. There's nothing you can say to them. They will just spit at you, spit at you, spit at you. Because that possessive energy must maintain It must maintain a level of reality to exist. And so, you can't get at that through the mind. You have to get it in different ways. And again, some children are born with it. In the same way they say, oh, it's so difficult to help children who are born from parents that are addicted, especially to drugs. You know? Well, there are parents that are addicted to other things too. Codependency, etc., etc., etc. And so it's really time to be free. I don't have a television, so it was wonderful for me because I did get to, between 12 and 2 in the morning every morning in Brazil, watch the Olympics, which I wouldn't have seen. And every time and I've always loved this anyway, but every time we would get a gold medal and they would play our anthem, you know, I have since I was a child loved that part. What is it? What is it? The home of the free. What is it? Land of the free, the home of the brave, the other way around, whatever it is. You know, it means so much. It means so much. The land of the free and the home of the brave. Are we brave? Are we free? Are we free of our addictions? Are we free of our self-hatred? Are we free of our helplessness? You know, we can be. We can be. It's ours to do. We just don't know it. We forget.